So now continuing on, we're going to do flight coin 2. Fortunately, they removed it, but there was a pop-up here saying, now that you've logged in, please try to redeem a voucher and collect some coins. So, and then they also gave us the source code for the app. So I'm going to go into my box here, and essentially, if I go up, essentially what they did is they gave us a zip file, and then I unzipped it, and I got this. Well, Notes is me, but they gave us a web directory and a Docker Compose. So I'm just going to check out the Docker Compose to start. This is really nice of them, actually, so I didn't have to figure this out. But as you can see, it's running Mongo. Is a database, so there's an image here, Mongo, and it's going to be open up. So the website runs on 8080. Something, I don't know if that's important. There's a cookie, probably some environment variables, the flag too. So this is probably what we're going to be trying to look for, or voucher code. It seems to be hard coded, and then a database URL. So there's a couple environment variables. Maybe those are important. I'm not sure. Let's go into the web file. So we'll look at the Docker file. It's just a simple Node app running index.js, so nothing too important there. We'll check out index. It requires Mongo. There's a login check from auth.js. This is just setting up some endpoints. So GraphQL, we can take a look at that panel. Maybe check a look at private is under private. And yeah, just some good confirmation that the app's running. So what else? Let's look here. We have private first. Let's go to private. This should be pretty simple. So this panel, which is probably basically the HTML. Yeah, this is just our HTML. So it's a pretty. Oh, that's a good thing. It's a pretty basic HTML. It just probably gets returned back to the sender. So not worried about that. JS is probably the same JS that's on the front end. So here is basically, looks like this is going to control the form for the voucher. It's going to expect voucher to be in, I guess, JSON. Here it says JSON, so it probably wants it to be JSON with, oh, okay, so up here it says code is going to be the value, and then it turns it into a JSON object with code as the key, and then whatever the text you put in that input as the value, and then it's going to create this mutation to redeem it. We'll probably be able to catch this in Burp Suite, so I can get that exactly, and then it's going to just catch some errors, or if you're successful, it's going to give us a redemption notice, I guess. So let's get out of that. That's good to know. Public's nothing. I don't think this isn't anything fancy. This is just this main stuff that's on the website, so we don't need to worry about that. Go into source, and we have a couple things here. So let's go to auth. Auth, it requires something from the DB. So why don't I open DB stuff on the left here so we can see it at the same time. DB, so it has the schema, voucher schema, which takes a code, a message, and some coins. User schema, which we're familiar with, username, password, coins. This is some Mongo stuff, so I don't know. I'll have to look at that later. We're going to export user and voucher, and then there's something here. This looks, so JavaScript issue. This is kind of, I guess, an inline function. I guess, what is it doing? It's going to, whenever this is invoked, it's going to check to see if there's one item in vouchers, and it is going to input the code as either the environment variable or some random crypto stuff. I don't know what that's doing, but it's probably making it difficult to crack. And then it's going to add the message of the flag. So and then you get 100 points, and it's going to save it. So it's seeding. Essentially, I think this is just seeding the database with at least one entry. And so the first entry in the database is good enough. So I'm assuming our goal is going to be to try to get this out of the database without in some format. So just to try to get the first record out of the database. So that's helpful. If we go back over to Vim, what are we doing here? We have get user, which is basically going to find one user by the username. So I mean, we could have just brute forced this originally by just by testing a whole bunch of usernames until we found one. Or maybe not. Maybe there's a password somewhere. Set user. I guess once it's found, it sets it. Login check. If there's a signed cookie session, then don't worry about it. Otherwise, not authorized. Go back. So that's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's anything here that we need to spend too much time on because we're already logged in. So I'm going to look at GraphQL. GraphQL it's loading some GraphQL stuff. It's requiring something from the database and some auth stuff. We're going to have a user type. Okay, so this is probably making the, these are the types that are needed for GraphQL. This is a user type, voucher type. So it basically matches that Mongoose schema on the other side. Now it's going to create a query, so we could query for user type. And I guess just like these are the base, this is mutation. So here we have the login mutation here, which is what we used, username and password. We have a register beta user with a username and password, which is what we used to get in. And then we have a redeem, which is basically it accepts a voucher, and the voucher is JSON. Okay, so info. That's probably just some helper function. Login. That's the login where it probably checks that password does not equal password. So that's where it checks it, and then if it's successful, then the user is authorized. Otherwise, it's a problem. Register. So yeah, we used this already. We created our own with 0 coins. Okay, redeem. It takes a voucher, so it gets the user's request. So you need to be logged in to hit this endpoint. Then it's gonna voucher find one, and this is passing in an object voucher.code. And because it's Mongoose, that's NoSQL, so there's probably something funny here. That's just, I haven't worked with Mongoose before. I just have a feeling that that's where this line here is probably where we can kind of play around with stuff. So voucher does not exist, and then it's just going to add the coins, and the voucher does not should be good. Okay, this is just some other stuff to, I guess, make it more entertaining. But this, I think, is what we can use is maybe figure out this find one feature, see if there's some condition we can put in here to just find the first rather than code, rather than like a perfect match on code. So that's what I'm going to go with to start. Now, just to play around with it, I'm going to put in redeem your voucher, any voucher. Let's redeem it and see what we get. So here it's making a post. There's my session. Query, it's calling the voucher, it's redeeming the voucher using coins, message, so code. So I don't actually have to worry about turning it into JSON because it looks like it's going to do that automatically. But let's send. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send this to the repeater. Repeater basically allows me to take this whole request and then just modify fields so I can kind of get consistent responses. So if I go up to repeater, here is our file. I wish it was formatted. It would look a lot nicer. Any voucher. Instead of a text, why don't we just do 0? See if that will work. So I'll hit send. And error, voucher does not exist, so that did not work. Why don't we send it? Let's send it how it's supposed to be. Any voucher. Send. Error, voucher does not exist. Okay. Why don't we send a broken? See if we can't break something. So basically it's an empty object. Post body invalid JSON. Okay. knew I was doing that. Send an array, first of the array maybe. That actually does not exist. Okay, that didn't work. I'm going to send JSON object, which will be, I don't know, some key. See if this does anything. Some value. And if I hit send, cast error. Cast to string failed for value key some value. Okay. So this worked. It accepted this is JSON. What I'm going to do is probably Mongoose find one query. Let's see if this pulls up something interesting. Find one. I could probably just go right to the documentation. So it means we specify true or false. So one means we specify the inclusion of a field. I don't know if that's what I want. And I'm going to get a pop-up. That's not what I want. Let's just go to the, it's got to be documentation, Mongoose documentation. So the conditions are cast to the respective schema types. Now, conditions is optional. If conditions is null or undefined, it will send an empty command, which will return an arbitrary document. So let's try, what if we send it an empty? Cast a string failed. Or if this was empty. Actually, it does not exist. Okay, that can work. Now I want to know what are the different kinds of conditions I can send. So this basically goes on for a while. I'm not finding it right away, but I do know that there's a greater than or equal prototype greater than or equal. Okay, so it specifies a $sign greater than or equal query condition when called with one argument, the most recent path passed to where. So they don't really give you an example, but you can do greater than. I just I'm not able to find it easily in the documentation, but essentially I know that I can pass this as an object. I thought it'd be a lot clearer, but unfortunately it's not. I know that if I pass this as an object, it'll treat it as a where condition. So greater than, or basically what this is doing is it's saying greater than or equal to 0, return me find one code. And so because it's the first one, I'm hoping it returns the first one. So if I hit send, look at that. So it worked. It gave me 100 coins, and it gives me a message, and it says, GlacierCTF, thank you for participating at our get port quick scheme. So that was essentially what needed to happen. Instead of this being text, just needed to put in some NoSQL operators or conditions that are kind of unique to NoSQL. So that's the second one. And what I would have done, is I would have taken this, copied it, and pasted it here, but it closed it up. So that's flag coin stage 2, and thanks for watching.